Okay, here we are back from a short break in a game called 1016. Not entirely sure what 1016 is a reference to, but definitely a visual novel type thing. Which means
Self-voicing
there we
enabled.
go.
The elevator's warmth was a relief from the cold waters of the Styx and the bodies inside thrashing on the water's surface. I knew the heat would soon become a fleeting feeling the deeper I went. I clasped a hand over the cross around my neck and took a deep breath. The door closed, and the elevator began its slow descent down into the thick of hell. Each elevator ride had been vastly different from the last in terms of both the elevator itself and the length of the ride down. While the time between the first and second circles only took 30 seconds, the ride between the fourth and fifth took what felt like 30 minutes. Some were smooth and in sleek, modern elevators. Others were. My knees wobbled at the sudden rumble. I leaned my back against the wall. I felt like I was going to be sick. I'd rather not die a second time, let alone in an old elevator. I shut my eyes and hoped my stomach wouldn't give out again. The elevator stopped, and its doors opened. My eyes were not ready for the immediate surge of fog that washed into the elevator like waves. I swatted some of it away as I made my exit from the insecurity of metal. Dirt scattered below my feet with each step. I was in a cemetery shrouded in deep fog. There was no sign of life, not even in the form of trees or wildflowers. All there were tombs, some open and empty, some closed. I called out into the mist, hoping someone would answer. The keepers of each circle have made themselves hard to find. At this point, it was expected. I called out again, my voice vanishing into a rasp as the fog ate my words. There was nothing to do but walk. As I trekked through the dirt, between the gravestones, I noticed some of the tombs were on fire. Not enough to set dead grass alight. Not enough to leave a smell. Eventually I spotted someone in the distance, dressed in black and red, holding an umbrella. Were they a mourner? What would a mourner be doing in front of a burning tomb? I slowly approached, careful not to do anything too fast to set the stranger off.
Are you the one trying to make their way to Satan?
They were not facing me, their eyes still cast down into the flaming abyss below us.
Are you too scared to respond, Fallen?
They turned towards me with a small smile on their face. Both irises were white, but the rest of the eye was drowned in different colors, one red, and one black. Over their mouth was a muzzle, like one a dog would wear if it could not keep its mouth shut and canines unsheathed.
Welcome to Heresy, the Sixth Circle. My name is Dorian, and I am this circle's keeper. Might I know your name, Fallen?
My name is...
Beard.
That is a beautiful name.
Why, thank you.
Hellbeard, do you really think so?
Of course. What reason would I have to lie to you?
Hellbeard. I stared at the demon of heresy like the answer was obvious. Hellbeard, your circle is for false teachers of faith. For those who say falsehoods about the way religion works.
I've also taken the blasphemers and the liars under my wing. Does it bother you? You have been acquainted with my friends in limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, and wrath. Of course, the deeper you go, the more horrifying it may appear to be. But it is not as bad as you may have been led to believe. Truly, everyone has treated you well so far, correct?
I reflected on each keeper I had met before coming down to the sixth circle. Hellbeard, they've all been nice. Is that surprising?
It is.
Hellbeard, should I be worried?
Worried about what they will do to you? Of course not. They can't do anything to you here.
Let's ask about the muzzle. I'm interested about the muzzle.
To ask about Hellbeard, why do you wear a muzzle?
It's the first thing you notice.
Hellbeard, people do not typically walk around wearing metal like that on their faces.
Typically. It was placed upon me by someone else. He said it's supposed to stop me from lying. In truth, it doesn't work, but I find it does make for a pretty accessory.
Can you take it off? I actually have to click on it.
One can.
No, not on my own at least. It is unlocked with a key which I do not possess. I cannot saw, cut, or burn through the metal, but that's all right with me. I've never needed to take it off, but enough of all that.
Dorian raised a hand out to the sky, palm up. There was a look of annoyance which briefly came over his face. I looked up to the sky. It was beginning to grow dark, filled with tones I had never seen before in rain clouds. Hellbeard, is rain coming?
Ash. For the first few minutes, the fall is not bad, but it can become worse than a raging blizzard. We should hurry back to the library. I'll return later to observe the fires.
He extended his hand towards me.
Here. The umbrella will shield you from the storm until we get you to shelter.
I could taste it in the air. The bitter remains of smoke had already made a home on my tongue.
Yeah, just stand next to him.
I declined the hand and instead stood next to him.
Stay close to me. It's not going to kill you, but it'll get in your lungs and ruin your clothes.
And the two of us walked, through fog and past uncovered graves, whose fires blazed despite the upcoming storm. Dorian looked down at me every so often as we walked, but he barely said a word. Was he judging me? Or was he just making sure I was okay? I didn't know. The fog parted as falling ash began to take its place. I had learned about Pompeii when I was a child. I imagined that the citizens of that ancient city witnessing this fall of ash, what would they have thought if they were in my position, unafraid and protected, certain of incoming shelter? Would they have found it beautiful? I would never get those answers. Birds flew above us. I could not see them, but I could hear their calls as they shifted through the ash. Once the fog started shooting upward, as if to battle the incoming cinders, I spotted a large building. It reminded me of the cathedrals in big cities and tucked into countrysides. Hellbeard, you're a demon like the others, right?
That is correct.
Hellbeard, then how come there's a building in a circle of hell that is themed like a Catholic cathedral?
You might call it blasphemous, and I suppose it is. In truth, I've always enjoyed Catholic aesthetics, whether it be in their art or their architecture, though I can't say I love what they have to say.
That's because you're not human. That's understandable.
That's understandable.
Yep.
Hellbeard, it's not up to me or anyone else to change your beliefs.
That's right. People don't like for their opinions to be changed, but some of us are masters of the silver tongue. Some may be easily swayed because they have no opinions of their own, and once they gain this opinion, it's permanent. Others may be as vampires who are weak to the silver, and they turn away, and these rooms become echo chambers. It's why I've read the scripture and holy books from every religion ever uttered, and yet none stick with me, but I can appreciate the aspects of most of them. Does that make any sense?
Hellbeard, I guess so.
Now, shall we go in?
As we walked on the steps, the front door opened for us. From it rolled in a dusty aroma. Not like the dust and ash of the graves, but instead like old books and wood. Something about it was comforting. Much more comforting than the storm, with its clouds putting pressure on the air and my lungs. As soon as we entered, the doors shut behind us. I was greeted to an extravagant room lined with books on either side. Above me sat beautiful paintings of mythical creatures, sitting among dead forests and empty beaches. Dorian placed his umbrella in a holder next to the door. There were 3 others clumped together, all from different historical eras.
You won't be able to go out until the storm passes.
Hellbeard, why not?
It will obscure where the elevator is. hard to see, hard to navigate, and it could bury you. It's best to wait it out.
Hellbeard, how long could it take?
I don't know. But you're not in a hurry, right? A few hours or even days is nothing when compared to the rest of eternity. Are you cold? I can make you tea and you can tell me your tale.
There was nothing else to be done.
Perhaps I shall give you a tour.
Hellbeard, sure.
Very well. You'd best hurry along then.
Dorian reached a hand out to me once more.
You might wander off and get lost. There are countless things in my library of lies that would draw even the purest of souls in.
Okay,
Want to follow him
just follow
instead.
him.
Hellbeard,
Old
I
taking
don't
of
think
hands
I'll
thing.
get lost if I stay nearby you, right?
You won't, but the halls of the library can get cold. It helps to preserve some objects. I just don't want you to freeze before you reach the 9th circle.
Hellbeard, are you trying to flirt with me? All he did was smile. We walked past statues, books, globes, and artifacts. He explained that most of the books were of falsehoods. Realities which people thought were real but never truly existed. Beliefs that were closer to fiction than fact. Some of them, labeled with pretty black and gold spines, were of truths. Of the beauties that exist in the world. I asked why he, as heresy, kept those. He didn't give me a straight answer. He said there was value in this knowledge. What was valuable about lies? And any time I wanted to reach for something, Dorian swatted my hand away.
No matter how you may preach about sin, shiny objects tempt you.
I wondered how old the globes were and what countries they showed. I wondered where he got them. I wondered if any of these books had been read by anyone other than Dorian himself. But why did I care? I wanted to leave eventually. I had to get down to the 9th circle. After what felt like 20 minutes worth of walking, Dorian stopped at an unassuming door. He grabbed for the knob.
This is one of my many studies. I never get to use them, only for the sparse company.
He opened it and bowed, a free hand extended into the room. I followed his lead and walked in. The door shut behind us, and Dorian let out a sigh of relief. It was a room with 2 levels. 3 of the 4 walls were lined with books. The only light came from a window parallel to the entry door. Whatever lurked outside I was unable to see, for the ash was too saturated. Hellbeard, what's the view out there?
From here, distant fires and mist.
I turned back to Dorian with an involuntary sigh.
Feel free to sit while I make tea. Do you have a preference on flavors? I prefer a floral blend myself, but I'll do anything for you. As long as I have it, of course.
I didn't want to have him go out of the way to make something to appease me. Hellbeard, I'll just have what you're having.
Splendid.
He walked over to a small break in the shelves. I stared at the table in front of me, with 2 chairs and papers scattered about it.
You could move those to the side, you know. I don't mind.
I nodded and started to stack the papers. Most were unopened letters and archival notes. But one letter, half out of its page with a drawing attached, intrigued me.
Read it.
I took the papers out. There was one main letter of normal size that was accompanied by smaller pieces, each with a beautiful sketch done in pen. They looked to be, of holy beings. Hellbeard, interesting. I read the letter attached, which was written in cursive and red ink. Dorian, I've sent some thumbnail ideas for the commission for the 14th wing. Let me know what you think. I'm really excited to start working on these. Any work you give me is such a pleasure. I hadn't seen any art pieces in the halls. Is there a part of the library that has some? I placed the letter's contents back in their envelope and sat down.
I saw you read that.
Hellbeard, sorry.
No, it's all right. I'm sure you're curious.
Hellbeard, who's it from?
A demon friend of mine. They're a painter. I've tried picking up the medium myself, but it just isn't my forte. I try to categorize the wings of my collection, sometimes by century, sometimes by region, and I like to decorate them. I keep more than just books. There are artifacts as well.
It's about the...
One ask. Two ask about the other letters. Hellbeard, what's in the other letters? I won't read any of those, but I'm curious, like you said.
I partake in a pen pal system throughout the circles, and to other regions.
Hellbeard, other regions.
Only human beings who believe what you believe are sent here once they succumb. There are other afterlives, and there are societies for the inhuman in between doors.
He returned with 2 cups. One was a plain straw in a cup, which I assumed was for him. The other was a beautiful teacup with a gold handle and deep blue flowers, painted like the night sky. Dorian placed the fancy cup in front of me and his on the other side. Finally, he sat down and twirled some of his hair around his finger.
I hope this is to your taste. It's blueberries, hibiscus, cherries, and some other fruits. I'm sure it'll pick you up in the darkness down here, at least.
One I didn't take. 2 say thanks.
Say thanks.
Hellbeard, thank you.
Anything for you. You are a guest in my home. If you need anything else, please let me know, okay?
How kind of him. He placed the straw between the bars of his muzzle so he could take a sip. It was scorching hot, and he was drinking it immediately.
So, shall we start this over?
Dorian was cut off by a sound hitting the window nearby. The 2 of us turned to find the source. It was a bird, with black feathers that contrasted against the light dust of the outside storm. It stared at me for a few seconds, flapping its wings to keep its place. And before I could process it, the bird flew off into the chaos. Hellbeard, I noticed them earlier. Why do you have birds?
I don't know, but they don't bother me. I let them fly about. Some of them nest on the spires. Blackbirds are my favorite animal.
He cleared his throat and resumed the conversation.
You have recently died, and you were sent to Limbo, the first circle. Now you seek to descend through each circle until you reach Satan at the 9th. You hope to state your case and be allowed into the heavens.
Hellbeard, that's correct.
Now, do you know why you were brought down to hell?
Hellbeard, I don't. Hellbeard, I've been a devotee to the Lord all my life.
So you intend to entreat with the devil without knowing what you may have done wrong?
Hellbeard, I believe it's a mistake. That I was mistaken for someone else.
Really now?
Hellbeard, that's what I think. Especially because everyone has been so kind to me as I've traveled down. Hellbeard, if it's not exactly a mistake, then it's a test. He said nothing, tapping his fingers instead on the cup in his hand.
We should start from the beginning then, shouldn't we? Perhaps we can discover where your purported sin lies if we talk about you. When did you die?
Hellbeard, January 1st.
On the Solemnity of Mary, Mother of God?
Hellbeard, yes. I was on my way to Mass.
That's unfortunate. And how did you die?
Hellbeard, I fell. Hellbeard, before going into the church, someone asked me to help with something on the roof. Hellbeard, we had been doing renovations, you see, and we had some birds that began to nest on the steeple. Hellbeard, someone asked me to climb up one of the ladders to try and whisk the birds away. Hellbeard, it would have been bad for them and bad for us.
Of course.
Hellbeard, but as I climbed up the ladder, I must have slipped on the last step. Hellbeard, I think one of the birds flew out and startled me. Hellbeard, so, I fell off and onto my back. Hellbeard, I could hear nothing, and all I could feel was blood. Hellbeard, it felt like it was, everywhere. Squirting against my neck. dripping down my forehead and clustering in my eyes. Hellbeard, my body felt wrong. Bent in every wrong angle and shape. Hellbeard, I looked up and watched the sky until my vision went dark. It was like watching a solar eclipse. Hellbeard, and then, I ended up here. Not, in your circle, obviously.
Do you regret dying, Fallen?
He had called me that before. And only now did I find it odd. I didn't tell Dorian my cause of death before this. One answer his question. Hellbeard, it was his choice to bring me to heaven, and this is his test.
His choice?
Hellbeard, everything is. Isn't it, Dorian?
I think this is why I like you so much.
Hellbeard, huh?
You're so innocent, so naive. You believe a benevolent God would kill you so violently, and then send you down to what he considers the pits, the tombs, the depths, that he would abandon you like this.
Hellbeard, I told you, it's a test for entry into the heavens.
Revelations 21:4. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Conflict is what drives the human species. It's what drives innovation and love. If you had an eternity in paradise, would you want to do anything? Think of any desires you had as a mortal. All of those things you wished to do before you died. Travel, fall in love, make something worth remembering, learn something new, leave an impact.
One call out the heresy. Two agree.
Yeah, sure.
Hellbeard, heaven might be boring. It might be scary. Hellbeard, I don't know, at the end of the day. Hellbeard, no matter how much we read, how much we pray, we don't really know.
That is true. Have you ever considered that your pastor's interpretation, or maybe your own, of holy texts could be wrong? It's like an English class. There is an interpretation that your professor may project. There's an interpretation which stems from the context of the time and place in which it was written. There's an interpretation directly from the author. Then there's your interpretation.
Hellbeard, Dorian, can I ask you something?
You can ask me anything.
Hellbeard, you push this idea that heaven is a boring place. Hellbeard, is that the same for hell for someone who is not suffering?
Only the truly wicked suffer. But it would take up too many resources to make an exponential amount of souls suffer for eternity. We may have eternity, but we like to make things quick.
Hellbeard, that's not exactly what I'm trying to ask. Hellbeard, are you bored down here?
Bored? I wouldn't say so. I have lots of work to do. Bodies to burn, people to release, books to catalogue. Sometimes they allow me to gaze upon the human world and observe the living before they fall into the circles.
I cut him off. Hellbeard, are you lonely? Hellbeard, I haven't seen anyone else here. Except for you. Hellbeard, you must get lonely with no one to talk to. He did not respond for a few moments. He may have seemed like he was looking at me, but instead, he was looking through me.
I suppose I do get lonely. I have friends. Other demons mostly, who come to visit and assist, but they leave. They have to. They have other obligations and their own concerns to consider. I just wish that...
He swallowed and closed his eyes.
Pay me no mind. We have more pressing issues to worry about. Your locket.
Hellbeard, huh? He held his hand out to me.
Let me see it.
I had nearly forgotten the new piece of jewelry which sat loosely around my neck, after I tried prying it open to no avail in the second circle. Hellbeard, why?
You know how people will keep the portraits and memories of their loved ones tucked in a locket close to their heart, so they do not forget what is most important to them? It's similar to that, only it's with your memories.
I unhooked the silver clasp sitting at the back of my neck and handed it to him. He was careful not to touch the clasp. Why? The keepers of those circles offered no response when I asked about its purpose. Dorian stood up and walked to a row of books behind him. Each looked old, older than any church I had ever visited.
It shall be easier to pass through if we can just...
He picked up the fifth book from the left, which had a faded label with 13 written in purple.
This one should work.
Dorian began flipping through the pages, being gentle with each one. Every so often, he pushed his glasses up with his index finger. Hellbeard, what are you doing?
I'm trying to find an empty page. There we are.
He had opened a page towards the end of the book. It was decorated in a border of twigs and birds, painted in neutral, matte colors. The most peculiar part was the oval-shaped hole in the middle of the page. Dorian placed the book on the table. He then placed the locket in the hole. It fit perfectly. I looked at his face, admiring the way his eyebrows knitted and lips parted in concentration.
We then close that, and now all we do is wait.
He used the chain of the locket as a bookmark before he closed the book shut. Hellbeard, what does that do?
It will write out your life story for me, all on one page. We need only give it a few minutes. Can I interest you in more tea?
Hellbeard, I think I'm all right, thank you. Let me finish this cup.
All right.
Dorian stood up, taking his cup and returning to the corner where he had originally made the tea. I looked down at the liquid swirling in my cup. When I glanced back up, Dorian was staring at me with a soft expression on his face. Hellbeard, Dorian?
Oh, apologies.
He turned away from me and began rummaging around in the drawers.
Ask about his staring.
Two ask Dorian about himself. One ask about his staring. Two ask Dorian about him.
Yeah, ask about
Hellbeard,
himself.
can I ask you some questions?
I'm an open book.
When did you die? Are you lonely? Are you allowed to leave?
When did you die?
Within the 1st century CE, I was burned alive for leading some Roman lambs astray. I had many thoughts on how the world should work. I've always believed religion to be selfish. People do good deeds to seem like good people, good enough to achieve paradise. I thought good deeds should be done because you want to be a good person. You want to help your fellow man, not to gain something in the end. I had other thoughts, that the man upon everyone's lips was just another preacher, that we are in control of ourselves. It's why my realm is tombs of fire and ash.
Hellbeard, are you still upset?
About dying? No, I was never upset. The only thing I'm upset about is I can't...
He stopped himself, both in his word and in his body.
Never mind.
We were interrupted by a bird's chirping. Dorian walked back over to me and gently placed his hand on the book, tracing the corner stitching with his finger.
It's ready.
Dorian opened the book and picked it up, hiding most of his face behind the pages. Every so often, he looked back up at me, eyes full of either delight or curiosity. He'd nod, as if to confirm some unsaid suspicion. I glanced to the window. The storm seemed to still be raging with no end in sight. Hellbeard, have you found anything yet?
I think so. There is something overarching, but I can pull out a specific moment. Do you remember the church you volunteered to work with to help serve food to those who are underprivileged?
Hellbeard, yes. It was cold that day in January. I underdressed, and I was shivering. Hellbeard, there were birds and squirrels outside, peering in on us through the church's windows. Hellbeard, they'd start with a sermon before we were allowed to serve food. Hellbeard, so they brought up the story of the feeding of the 5,000.
Then he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitudes. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments that remained. Now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Matthew 14, verses 19 through 21.
Hellbeard, I think I laughed at that.
Really?
Hellbeard, because he's summoning an endless amount of bread, basically. How is that possible?
Well, another interpretation of that same story is that basically back in those times they didn't really have like lunch boxes or anything, so people would also just kind of like have food on them, like in pockets and whatnot, so that it was, them having the loaves and the fishes and whatnot and distributing it around. They would also be pulling out, all of the food and whatnot that they had in their own pockets and kind of sharing it around. So it's still, has a general kind of, sense of, like, if you actually like share what you have and everyone else shares what they have, you end up with more than enough, that sort of thing. But it's a slightly different, but still kind of a similar parts to it, if that makes sense.
Hellbeard, I understood what the passage was saying. To make use of what you have. Hellbeard, but I didn't take it literally.
Yeah,
There
much
are
of the same
many
thing.
absurdities in the texts. Silly things, annoying things, things that don't make sense. It's like how we think of Greek and Roman mythology nowadays. Less so that it really happened, and as more of a fable. I think of Ambrose Bierce in a more modern context. So you take a lot of what's in your text as lessons, rather than fact.
Hellbeard, yes.
So do I. And therein lies your sin. You don't take it literally. And that's a heresy.
Before I could have any sort of reaction, Dorian continued.
It's unfair, isn't it? To be curious. To question what you're reading or what you're being told. To think some things are too big, too fantastic for the mediocre world you live in. And to be punished in the end for questioning someone? Lucifer fell because he questioned God. Wants to say he isn't doing the same to you right now. Someone who has been a devout, loyal follower, despite never seeing his face.
Hellbeard, that's such an innocent sin, though, isn't it? Hellbeard, it's human nature, that's part of why we must forgive and repent. Because we're flawed.
But why is that a bad thing? No one should expect someone as wonderful as you to be perfect all the time, because you're perfect in your own right.
Hellbeard, what are you saying?
I have a question for you. Do you still want to go down? Do you still want to face Satan? He will reject you, even if he believes in you. You know what your Creator will say. He'll cast you right back down here, and it will have to be here. Do you truly wish to go through such effort, only to be humiliated and rejected? I'd hate to see that on you. I really would, but it's your own decision. If you stay here, I will take care of you. I will tell you everything you want to know. If you would continue down, I will ensure that the keepers of those circles treat you with kindness and lead you to Satan easily. Then, if you are rejected, I will welcome you upon your return with open arms.
Hellbeard, what if I'm not?
I don't think you'll make it to the paradise you desire, because in truth, it's not as fantastic as they make it up to be. But, as I said, it's your decision.
Well, go on to the next circle.
To go to the
See what
next
happens.
circle. Hellbeard, I think I'm going to try. Hellbeard, it can't hurt to try and see what happens. Hellbeard, and if I come back, then I come back.
If that's your choice, follow me.
He led me out of the room and back into the hallway. Hellbeard, the elevator has always been in the building?
Yes, it has. Why I didn't say this earlier isn't for you to know.
We walked for maybe 10 minutes, past paintings and shelves and ancient artifacts. He stopped at an unsuspecting shelf where all books were the same color. Dorian pulled on one book, and the shelves opened outward to reveal a modern elevator.
This will take you down to Violence, the 7th circle. Just let them know I allowed you down. They'll know what to do.
I pressed the button labeled 7. Dorian raised one hand and waved it shyly, like he wasn't sure if he should.
Good luck down there.
Hellbeard, thank you, Dorian. He had kept eye contact until the elevator had closed completely. I began traveling downwards. I didn't know how long it would take. And I wasn't sure how to process my emotions along the way. I just had to hope he was telling the truth. Ending 5, sent to my doom, back, crying in your arms.
Okay. Sure, okay, that was ending 5. Okay, I might want to look up exactly what you gotta do to get the different endings and see what all's going on there. But yeah, this has been 1016. Kind of interesting, kind of a philosophical debate kind of thing. But there you go. Till next time, later.
Begin.